Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylie. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
What up, fam? You're tuned in to the Elite Life podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Kay Kizzle. And with me, as always, is T Money. Yes, we have finally decided on our gangster name. So, yay for us. There's no turning back now, is what I'm trying to tell you.
I wanted to throw up a West Side. I don't know if that's appropriate.
No. We'll get kicked off of YouTube.
Okay.
And today we've got some business insight for you that I think can work practically in business or in personal life.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to catch everybody up, and I realize we're actually on the east side, not the west side in comparison with where I used to be. But we are opening a new office, which is very exciting because I moved.
So freaking amped.
I know. I moved to Oakland County. Kylie lives in Oakland County. Our current office is in Wayne County. So it just made sense for us to open a second one. The first one is full. It's in a different county. So we're super psyched to just meet the community, dive in, start serving. This is actually
going to be good.
It's
going to be so good.
Kylie's so pumped she can't even let me finish what she typed out for me to say.
Okay, carry on.
Oh, no, it's all good. This is actually the 10th office that I've opened. So I think this is like a lucky one, right? Lucky number 10.
Yeah, 10's a good number.
It is. And it's been a journey. Like when I look back to the very first office I opened, which was in 2009.
Woo.
I know, which is crazy to think about now. And it was actually in Novi in shared space. And I never would have imagined that one day I'd have two offices with over 100 agents and just have exploded the way we have. And it's so
what
exciting.
A blessing.
It is such a blessing. And, yeah, we had a lot of options when we were out there looking. And
we did. It was tough.
Yeah, and anything that you're going into, like even though I've opened 10, it was still we're in a shifting market. I'm in a different county. We don't have a huge amount of agents that are out this way yet. So yeah, exactly. We are recruiting.
Coming for you.
If you're an Oakland County agent and you're looking for a new home, make sure you reach out. But
we're shameless plug. It's shameless plug month.
It is. The point is, it came down to two options. We had two offices that we were looking at. Both were great options. One, I really, 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 really wanted. But when it came down to it, it wasn't we need all of this. It was I want this. And in anything in life, especially like with my kids and with my family, I really sit down and I'm like, is this something we need or something we want? Because if you're always just doing what you want, eating crappy food, running your credit card over and over again, doing the things that you want, frivolous, immediate decisions, that doesn't necessarily lead you to the right place, and it doesn't lead you to what you need.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely.
I like to tell my kids that. And so then, of course, here I come, Kay Kizzle saves the day, and I give the best advice ever, and I told her to, number one, pray about it, and trust your gut. You're always preaching to trust our realtor guts. And you've been in this business and been around long enough to have had the experience so that you can have a good gut instinct about things.
Yeah, and so that's what brought us to this episode, right? I've been in the game and alive long enough to have learned a lot of lessons, and I wanted to run down the difference between instinct, emotion, and experience, because there's always options to any choice that you have. And I feel like as new entrepreneurs, or when we're coming to something to make a decision or make a change, a lot of times we can overthink it, we can act on our emotions, and it could turn into a bad decision, or we're just not thinking with enough big picture thought. It's like, okay, this will be good for right now, now, but what happens later. So I just wanted to kind of give some tips on how to be able to wade through and make hard decisions with good decisions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So like, let's first start with like, as I was writing this, I realized that, we all have natural instincts, like, not eating things that smell bad. Like that's a natural thing. Like you don't need someone to tell you not to eat poop. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all on that level with natural instincts. You didn't see that coming, did you?
I did not.
Did you see her face, you guys? She did not see that coming at all. And then we have the instincts that we've built from experience, either from, someone telling us about their experience and us saying, ooh, I don't want to go through that, so I'm not going to do that thing. And then, or, we've experienced it ourselves. So like you touch the hot thing, you realize, oh, that thing is hot. So now moving forward, when you see a pot on the stove, even if it's not that exact same pot, you're like, oh, that's probably hot because it's on the stove, right? So you build up this experience of having an instinct of how things are going to play out, and then there's your emotions,
Yeah, and I always try to be really careful and intentional because emotions always come first, right? Like you feel this and you want to react. Like you said, if it's hot, you want to react. If you're sad, you want to react. If you're mad, you want to react. Like we always have these immediate reactions, and I like to remind people about the science, right?
Science. Here comes Trisha, college science.
Emotions are simply the levels of certain chemicals in our bodies and our brains. So we as women could just be hormonal and that's why we're sad, right? It's not necessarily because there's anything that's making us sad, or adrenaline is present in fear and excitement. So I love to tell Angelina all the time. She'll be like, oh, I feel kind of scared. And I'm like, no, you feel kind of excited. And I'm like, fear feels the same as excitement. So, you might think you're afraid to go up on stage and speak, but really you're excited to go up there. You're about to change some lives. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be super great.
It's just your body putting you in a hyper aware status.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's rule number 1, like remove your emotions from the decisions.
Yeah.
It's the hardest one.
And I know that totally sounds like a gimme and you're probably listening to this like, well, duh, but I dare any single one of us to raise our hand if we've never made an emotional decision. Go ahead. I'll wait for it. Oh, I didn't see any hands go up.
I stop myself every single day.
No,
every single day. I'll be like, I want to respond this on this text message, or I want to respond this on this Facebook message. And I'm like, don't.
Or on our YouTube comments.
Yeah, on our YouTube comments. Like that is an emotional response.
It is. And it's hard sometimes, but I think about like when I was writing this out, I had to think about like every time I've made an emotional decision, and almost every time, I'll easily say 9 out of 10, it ends up going sideways or south or not having the outcome that I wanted it to have because I was so emotional. I didn't have the ability to have the foresight to say, okay, well, if I'm, angry at this person, I lash out verbally or physically or whatever, because, I can get physical. Here's how it's going to go.
Right. And, that's why I know I say it a lot, but there's power in the pause. There is so much power in the pause. When you pause, you have time to let your emotions calm down, to let your thoughts really like go through the pros and the cons, assess your budget if it's something that has to do with money. Look forward like I did and visualize, what does this look like weeks from now, months from now, years down the road?
Like?
What's it going to feel like?
That was my favorite one when you were like, I will be sitting in there and you're going to be on vacation and Tracy's going to be on vacation. I'm going to have 2,100 square feet and I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah. Why am I dropping $4,000 for me to sit in a giant 5,000 square foot office by myself, right? Now, what I did do that was smart was, okay, let's start small in a space we can grow. We can analyze the money that these agents that are here make. I did the budget. I did the feelings. I did the visualization, and then I made a smart, educated decision that I can grow with, not just a today decision. I made a, what does this look like a year from now? I have an out for 2 years from now. I have a plan for 5 years from now and 10 years from now. So I already know exactly what my strategy is to get to the next 5 steps, not
Yeah.
just the next step, because I stopped and went, you know what? I don't have to make this decision today, right? Because there were offices that you brought me back in December that we looked at, and I remember one of them we walked out of, and Andy's like, well, what did you think about it? And I'm like, I want to say yes only because it's an easy thing to do, and I know that is not a good reason to say yes.
Right.
Literally, those were my words.
Well, when we initially started looking, just like when anyone starts a project, we were motivated, right? We were super motivated. We were excited, and we were just ready for the next chapter. We were ready to get in and have a space to work. Me mainly because I have people at my house called my family who, for whatever reason, continue to live there and make it very difficult for me to focus. So I'm amped. And I think we both agree, like, this was a really good choice. Like, we're really, really happy with where we're at.
Yeah, so we utilized all of those things, right? I took the emotions out. I worked from my experience. I brought in other people to be able to bounce off of. Am I making this choice because I'm scared, or am I making this choice because it's smart? I gave it time and I paused. And then I visualized what it feels like, what it looks like, what's the best that can happen if I choose this, right?
See, that's one thing that I picked up from Andy that really got me through a lot of stuff. And when you're an agent, most often our biggest hurdle is making the calls. And even if you do make the calls, you're cooling yourself off. Like, I would find, that I wouldn't be calling those higher end listings because where I grew up, $200,000, $300,000, that's a big house. Like, I've never seen big, giant money. And so I wouldn't call on those multi-million-dollar houses, and I'm like, I'm scared what if they tell me no. And I would always shy away from calling them. But when I powered through the fear, acknowledging like, okay, I'm not scared, because the worst thing that's going to happen on this phone call is someone's going to cuss me up and down and tell me never to call them again. And then I'm going to delete them from my database so I don't even accidentally call them again. But what's the best thing that could happen? I could end up making more money, like life-changing money for me, life-changing help for my clients. Boom. And stepping aside from that fear, acknowledging that it was actually excitement of the possibilities, further motivated me to just like go through and just get the calls done and make those connections. It's so powerful.
Yeah. So you had a shift in perspective, and now how do you perform?
I mean, I call everyone. I call every single one. And the other thing too, I will admit is like, sometimes we run into names from a different culture that we're terrified to mispronounce. My name is, growing up, it wasn't super common. I've been called Claire, Kayla, Kyla, Skyly, and it doesn't bother me. And I'm sure other people out there who have non-traditional American names feel the same way.
Yeah. So I love this because we're talking about not focusing on the negative outcome. We can say what's the worst that can happen and know that at the end of the day, nobody dies. So you might as well take the jump, but really looking at what's the best that could happen from here. What's our next steps, and trusting our experience, not
rule number
our
2.
Yes.
I love this rule. But then that begs the question, what if you don't have experience? Because I noticed, when I started looking for a job, when I realized I was 18 and I was a grown-up now, you would go to this place and they're like, oh, well, you don't have experience, so you can't get this job. Well, I can't get this job without experience. I can't get experience without this job. So, how are people who don't have experience with what they're dealing with lean on their experience?
Yeah, well, you're an adult person. Most likely the majority of your instincts were built from experiences, like you experienced a thing or a situation, or someone told you or taught you about it. But if you don't have experience, what do I always say? Success leaves clues, right? Success leaves clues. So find somebody that is successful at that thing and go ask them, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you coffee? Can I do something? How can I spend an hour with you just chatting with you, right? And
make sure you do something for them. Don't be like, hey, let's go out to lunch and then make them pay for lunch. Like you're being what in the industry is called a brain picker, right? You're asking for free time. And some people are willing to give free time. We were talking about this earlier. I have clients that I've done some pro bono work for just to help them out, knowing that they needed it. But when you come back to me for a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time and ask for the same pro bono work, you need to do something to compensate me for said work, because we can't work for free, right? Just like that person doesn't do his job for free, I can't continue to do my job for free. So whether it's monetary or it's lunch or it's coffee or something, success leaves clues. Find someone who's already successful at what you want to do. Now, here's the thing too. Don't just ask everybody. I am not going to ask my mom for what should I do in my business, because my mom works at Ford Motor Company and I own a real estate brokerages. Those two things do not translate. My mom gives great advice on a lot of things, but it's not going to be on what do I do with my real estate brokerage. Right. So that is something I really want to point out too. When you are seeking the opinion of others, make sure you're seeking it from a credible source, someone who does have positive experience in that realm. Because also, I'm not going to go to a broker who's failing, who has no agents, who has this or that. Don't go on the Instagram reel. Don't go on their Facebook. I want you to look up their statistics and what they have done and make sure they're actually a successful, credible, experienced person to learn from.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel like we've talked so many times about, the half picture that social media, portrays. There's so many people out there on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Twitter. Wow. I need another cup of that coffee. Get a credible mentor, okay? And what's rule number 3, T?
Execute. Do the thing. We've been talking about that a lot today.
Do the thing. I feel like we're coming to, by the time this episode airs, we're coming to spring. We're coming to that place of renewal and refreshment. And one thing that you always tout is take massive action. Take action, execute, take action. God, that was easy.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's very easy, but it's also very easy to get stuck in paralysis, right? Like, me thinking about opening a new office seemed very big and very scary, because it is big and scary,
and
right?
You could have easily gotten, drudged down by the details of, okay, because this is where I get stuck. I have, I go through the first phase of making the decision, and then it's like, okay, now I'm in phase 2 of planning of how we're going to get from point A to point B, and that's, me, that's usually where I like to stay. I like to make all the lists. I like to make all the flow charts. I like to make all the training sheets. Yeah. And I never get to that execution phase.
Yeah. And I knew, like, I was sitting there and I'm like, I can keep like looking at stuff and looking at stuff and looking at stuff and sitting on the internet and sitting on the internet. I don't want to do that anymore. I have to take action, because how much time are me and Kylie losing driving 10 hours a week back and forth to Livonia? What kind of money and goodness in our lives and in our families' lives could we be doing with that 10 hours? I can't afford monetarily or mentally or life-wise
or physically
to continue to do that, right? So I need to move this forward. I need to execute. I have no excuses left to not sign a lease and get us in a place immediately. Now, today we were talking about like, oh, we need internet, right? Those things will come. But if I sit in paralysis until every single thing is ready, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There are 0 times in life where all the circumstances are perfect and you are 110% ready, and then you jump and it works out great, because this is not the movies, y'all.
Oh, Hollywood lies to you. If you don't know that, Hollywood lies.
Yes. So don't make split second emotional decisions, but do utilize your experience, visualize what this answer looks like, get some coaching and mentorship from credible resources, and execute and take action.
I love that so much. I'm going to throw a shameless plug right here. If you need help, like if you're like, everybody thinks like Stars Academy and coaching and everything like that we offer is simply just for real estate agents, but it's really entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, I started life coaching you. Like, you weren't.
Yeah, I came to you like my shit's a mess. I got a dumpster fire over here. You got a fire hydrant you can hook up to, and just like.
Yeah, well, and you told me, like, I don't want to be a realtor. I don't want to be in real estate. So when we started coaching, it was nothing to do with real estate.
No, it wasn't.
Nothing to do with being a realtor. It was, how can I get Kylie from a stressed out mom in tornado world of just going, stuff going crazy. And every time I talk to you, we would work on one thing. What's the one thing we can do this week to make life calmer, easier, more handleable, make my household better, and we would conquer that one thing, and then we would move to the next thing, right?
Yeah. And it's the same with like business. So if you are, if you have a business, I personally believe what Gary Vee believes. Like, if you have a passion, there are other people out there who have that passion. So long as it's a good passion and not something like serial killer stuff, you can monetize that. There are other people out there who have the same passion who you can pass your knowledge on to. So if you are thinking about maybe starting a business, or if you have no idea how to monetize your passion, you can email us info@mystarsacademy.com. We'd love to spend some time just chatting with you, just trying to help you muddle it out, because a lot of times at the beginning, I feel like what people really get stuck on is, how do I get from point A to point B? And really, truly, I mean, we've done the research, we've read the books. It's literally always the same thing. Every single time. Every time, it's the same thing.
Yeah, we got to get you to growth, friends. We got to grow, and we got to just get a little better every day. And that's what it's all about in life. So that's it. That's all we wanted. We just wanted to drop a short and sweet little episode on you with some nuggets of knowledge. I hope you got some aha moments. You liked it. You loved it. Or maybe you just thought somebody else would really need to hear this. So you're going to go and share this episode.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and come back next Thursday, because we drop new episodes every week here on the Elite Life Podcast.
Bye.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Life with Trish and Kylie. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.